Being available sounds like a good thing, helpful, kind, reliable. We're taught that showing up all the time makes us valuable, that answering quickly builds connection, that always being there proves loyalty. But psychology shows something uncomfortable. The more available you are, the less control you often have. Control doesn't come from force. It comes from perception. And perception is shaped by scarcity, boundaries, and emotional balance. When you are always available, people stop adjusting for you. They expect access. They assume priority. They don't pause before making demands. This isn't because they're bad people. It's because the human brain adapts quickly to patterns. Consistency becomes invisibility. When your presence is guaranteed, it stops being valued. When your time is unlimited, it stops being respected. Less availability disrupts this pattern. The brain notices change before it understands it. When you pull back slightly, attention increases. Curiosity appears. People reassess your role. This is a basic psychological response to uncertainty. Certainty feels safe. Uncertainty feels important. Availability also affects power dynamics. In every relationship, professional or personal, there is an invisible balance. Who waits? Who initiates? Who adjusts? The person who is always available usually adjusts more. And the one who adjusts more often holds less control. Control here doesn't mean dominance, it means choice. When you're always available, you remove your own choices. You react instead of decide. Less availability creates space between stimulus and response. And that space is where control lives. Psychology calls this emotional regulation. People with higher emotional regulation don't respond instantly. They pause, they observe, they choose when to engage. This pause changes how others perceive them. They appear grounded, self-directed, not desperate for connection. And the human brain associates these traits with authority. Another reason less availability gives control is expectation management. When you're always reachable, people expect immediate access. When you're not, they adjust their expectations. They plan better. They respect time more. They value moments of connection. You haven't changed who you are. You've changed how your presence is distributed. Scarcity increases value, not just materially, but psychologically. This is why silence often feels powerful. Silence forces others to fill gaps with their own thoughts. They reflect, they wonder, they project meaning. Constant availability removes that space. Another important factor is self-respect. When you reduce availability, you signal that your time matters even to yourself. This internal signal is crucial. Your brain learns how you treat yourself by watching your behavior. If you constantly give access, it assumes your time is cheap. If you protect it, your brain reinforces boundaries. Boundaries reduce resentment. Resentment destroys relationships. Many people think being less available will push others away, but often it does the opposite. People lean toward what feels stable, not what feels desperate. Availability without boundaries feels unstable. It feels like emotional overflow. Bounded availability feels intentional. Another hidden shift happens internally. When you're not constantly responding, your mind becomes clearer. Less mental noise, less emotional reactivity. This clarity improves decision-making. Control is not about controlling others. It's about controlling your responses. Less availability also breaks unhealthy attachment patterns. When you're always present, some people unconsciously rely on you to regulate their emotions. You become a stabilizer for their anxiety. This creates imbalance. When you step back, they are forced to self-regulate. Some will resist. Some will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your responsibility. Psychology shows that healthy relationships require two regulated individuals, not one emotional anchor. Another reason control increases is predictability reduction. Predictable people are easier to manipulate. Their patterns are known. Responses are expected. When you reduce availability, predictability decreases. People can't time you, can't assume, can't pressure easily. This creates leverage. Again, not manipulation. Leverage. There's also a status effect. People with higher perceived status are less available, not because they reject others, but because their time is structured. The brain equates structure with importance. When you structure your availability, your perceived value rises. This applies to friendships, work, and even family dynamics. Less availability also protects emotional energy. Every interaction costs something: attention, patience, presence. If you give constantly, depletion follows. Depletion leads to irritability. Irritability leads to conflict. Conflict leads to loss of control. By limiting access, you preserve energy. Preserved energy increases patience. Patience increases power. People often fear that pulling back will make them seem cold. But control doesn't require coldness. It requires consistency. Being less available doesn't mean disappearing. It means being intentional, responding instead of reacting, choosing instead of pleasing. When you stop being constantly available, you change the rhythm of interactions. Others slow down. They think more before reaching out. They respect timing. This subtle shift rebalances power. The most important change, however, happens internally. You stop chasing approval. You stop proving value. Stop filling silence. Silence becomes comfortable. And comfort with silence is one of the strongest psychological positions you can hold, because silence means you don't fear being misunderstood. You trust outcomes more than opinions. Control grows quietly. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It simply exists. Less availability teaches people how to treat you. More importantly, it teaches you how to treat yourself. That's why everything changes. Not because you withdrew, because you chose yourself first.